A long, long time ago, after I graduated from college, I had a job at a medical device company. I worked in the research and development laboratory. And this other guy that worked there was in the sales and marketing department. And we started the first week, so we kind of got to know each other and we started to hang out together. And he would always tell me that sales and marketing within the medical device industry is a lot different than what he had anticipated. Because when he was in college, he had a lot of sales jobs, a lot of direct-to-consumer sales jobs. But when you sell things within a certain industry, when you're into business-to-business sales, it's a lot more about building relationships. And if you're selling medical devices, there's a whole bunch of administrative bureaucracy that you need to learn how to deal with. Because the sales game you bring to the doctor is a different sales game you bring to the gatekeeper, which is a different sales game that you bring to the administrator. And they all have their different roles, and you need to make sure they all have their egos fed before you can get a contract with the hospital. And so to help him do this, the company would send him to these seminars. And the people that teach these seminars don't typically teach them to regular people off the street. They teach them to company people. And because they teach them to company people, they have kind of a requirement that they teach them things so when they go back to the company, the salesperson can demonstrate that they can sell things better than they did before, that they can make more money than they did before, because that's how they justify spending money on these seminars. And so when he went to these seminars, he would always meet the same kind of people, the same type of industry people, and they all had their kind of industry language, and they all had the same collection of industry contacts. But there was one guy that he met in one of these seminars that was a little bit different, a little bit of an odd duck, because this guy had been in sales himself like 10, 20 years ago at the time that he met him, but he came across this one method that was far better than any other sales method he had discovered before. And the reason he was coming to industry seminars is because he was seeking more sales techniques. A lot of people that go to seminars don't really seek the techniques, they seek the experience. And this is kind of a weird thing that the self-help industry in general has evolved into. Because when we consume self-help material, we kind of consume it unconsciously like we consume fiction. Like when you watch TV or read a book or watch a movie, you kind of imagine yourself having an experience. You imagine yourself doing the things that the characters on screen or in the book are doing. And when we read self-help material, it's kind of the same thing. We imagine ourselves living a better life. You can easily imagine yourself being able to say things to people that you can't normally say. You can imagine yourself having confidence that you don't normally have. You can imagine yourself being much more persuasive and seductive than you already are. But then the self-help book or the seminar ends and you go on to the next one. You don't really practice the things in the seminar, and this creates a kind of a weird kind of energy, a weird kind of dynamic in the self-help industry, the current modern self-help industry, because most people go to seminars not to really learn something specific, not to practice skills every day, not to improve your skills by daily discipline, but just to have an experience, whether that's conscious or unconscious. And because people go to seminars just to have an experience, that absolves the seminar teachers or the self-help content creators to come up with anything real. It's much more about having an experience for the students, have the seminar participants, have the readers of the books, the consumers of the material, having a positive experience. And this kind of evolves into an organic, mutually subconscious idea where the students pretend to learn and the teachers pretend to teach. And so long as everybody's having a good experience, that's okay. Which means that a lot of modern self-help ideas are absolute rubbish because they don't really teach anything useful. They just give the consumer a very, very good feeling while they're consuming this material. Not a lot of material can help the person actually get better. Not a lot of self-help material can help someone become more confident or become more persuasive or become more outgoing. It's similar to how they sell lottery tickets. According to a woman who was a marketing director for a lottery that I watched a documentary on, she said that when they sell a lottery ticket, they don't sell a chance, a one over 20 million chance of winning money. They sell 2 or 3 days of dreaming. They sell a feeling that lasts for 2 or 3 days. And so you buy a ticket for $5 and you hold this physical ticket, and because you have this physical ticket, you can dream for 3 or 4 days much more easily than you can dream if you imagine finding a random sack of money on the street. This gives you a tangible reason to dream, which makes those dreams more real. And so there's literally selling a dream, a 2 or 3 day dream, for $5. And that's why people keep buying lottery tickets. They're buying that dream over and over and over again. Just like people consume self-help material, they have this dream of their future while they're consuming the self-help material. They're imagining a much better future. But the seminar he went to, he said, was much different than that, which is why he goes to industry seminars now, because at least they have some techniques that he can apply. The seminar he went to had a completely different presupposition about how to persuade people. It had a completely different presupposition about how to seduce people. And that was, whenever you look at somebody and you see them and you imagine something you'd like them to do, whether that be to buy a product or fall in love with you, the old model is to try to tell them reasons to do that, to give them your reasons to do that, to use a lot of persuasion technique, persuasion game to get them to do that. But this model is completely different. This model is much, much easier. This model is much, much more effective. And that is, you start off with the presupposition that whatever it is you want the other person to do, whatever that is, the ideas already exist inside their head. The experiences already exist inside their head. The memories already exist inside their head to get them to do that thing. So all you really need to do is just ask questions to elicit those memories. Ask questions to elicit those ideas. Ask questions to elicit those experiences. And once you create that mental state, that emergent mental state of these ideas that already exist inside them to come up inside their conscious mind, they will combine in a way that will compel them to do the thing you want them to do. And the way they taught this seminar was very, very similar to the way the actual method works. The seminar teacher would just ask questions of the students, of the participants, and then they would do exercises where they would ask each other questions and elicit these memories and ideas. And throughout the whole seminar, it kind of put everybody into a trance, like a question-induced hypnotic trance. And inside this hypnotic trance came the emergent system of how to apply this technique to other people. It was a very self-reflective, recursive, emergent experience. And so the idea is, if you just ask people the right questions, if you elicit the right memories and experiences in their mind, that will lead them to do whatever you want them to do, but it will always be their idea. And he said this was the most breakthrough idea he ever heard, of just simply asking people questions and assuming from the get-go that they already have the memories and experiences and ideas inside their head. And when you bring those out, they will put together in a way that will make them compelled to do the thing, thinking it was their idea. And the reason this works so well is because we have a cajillion memories in our brain. We all have a cajillion experiences in our brain. We all have a cajillion ideas and references and ways of looking at the world in our head. But we think the same, like 1 or 2% over and over and over again. And so if you come in with the old school sales technique of taking ideas and putting them in their head, you're trying to get past that 1% idea that we think over and over again. And this is what we think reality is, because it seems so familiar. But if you just simply ask questions instead, ask questions and draw out their experiences from the inside, it'll kind of come to the top and get rid of those 1% familiar stuck states that people are in, and it will compel them to do whatever you want them to do. It's a very, very elegant, very easy, very relaxed process. You don't need charisma to use this process. You don't need to have a lot of confidence to use this process. You don't need to have a lot of experience in sales or persuasion or seduction to become incredibly effective with this process. And once he was able to learn this process, once he was able to apply this process, he started to make so much money in sales. He only needed to work about 2 or 3 months out of the year, and that set him on a course of discovery to find whatever other techniques he could learn. And he quickly learned that in most self-help, most direct to the public self-help is mostly junk, because it's just an experience. It's not really any useful techniques, which is why he started to go to industry seminars. Because in industry seminars, they at least have a kind of requirement to teach people things that'll work, so when they go back to their companies, they'll demonstrate that they can sell their product better. And that's why in industry seminars, he finds things that are a little bit more effective, but they're not nearly as effective as this one thing he went to several years ago, where you can just ask people questions and build out their ideas and get them to do whatever you want. This is a very, very profound process. It's a very, very elegant process. It's a very, very effective process. It's a very, very relaxed process. To start with the assumption that whatever you want someone to do, whoever they are, for whatever reason, all of the reasons to compel them to do that already exist inside their mind, and it's your job to just ask the right questions, to elicit those ideas, to resonate those ideas, to help them remember those ideas so they'll do whatever you want them to do, and it will be their idea. But the biggest catch is you'll never be able to get credit for them doing the thing, which is hard for some people, but for you, this might be easy. For you, this might seem simple. For you, this might seem obvious. So try this out and let me know what you think in the comments. If you'd like to learn more about how to use your language to elicit compliance from others, fantastic, wonderful sexual compliance from others, check out the links below. If you'd like to learn more, check out the links below. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And thanks. I'll see you next time.